Our next speaker is Mark Lynch-Staunton, CEO of Benz Mining. Mark's a seasoned mining executive with a proven track record in building and advancing complex gold projects. Prior to joining Benz in 2023, he held senior roles at Barrick, where he was responsible for the feasibility and successful recommissioning of the multi-million ounce Bulyanhulu gold mine in Africa. Mark, we look forward to hearing more about Benz and activities at the recently acquired Glenburgh and Mount Edgerton projects here in WA. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Duncan, for the introduction. So yes, I did do that feasibility in Tanzania. Successfully did the feasibility and recommissioning. I was pretty proud of that. But the whole time I had a hankering. I wanted to come back to WA and build something of my own, build something big. And so I put out some feelers and for the right team, the right vehicle, and I was introduced to Evan Cranston and Benz Mining. We hit it off instantly, met up in Perth. We're on the same page with things. We don't want to do small things, small wins. We want to build something big. So we didn't waste any time. We got stuck straight into the data rooms. For the next 8 months, we scoured all the technicals, the drilling data of several projects. And we're getting a little bit disenchanted. We weren't finding what we wanted. We wanted something with scale, size, and untapped potential. And I kept saying no. And it wasn't until Glenburgh hit our screens that we got truly excited. And that's it hit all our investment filters with that scale and certainly that untapped potential. So I'm here today to tell you what we saw, what we're doing, and why we think Glenburgh will be Australia's next multi-million ounce gold district. I'm just going to turn around here. So first things first, everybody understands the Yilgarn Craton. That's where gold's been found for the last 100 years. It wasn't until Tropicana was found on the margin here in the high metamorphic terrain that geologists really started to understand that potential. It's the first thing that we noticed, that Glenburgh also sat in that similar craton margin geological setting. And so we're very fortunate to have a global expert in high metamorphic geology. I know he'll be cringing right now, a guy called Ben McCormack. I did warn him. But it's important that we understand that this is new frontier. And I'll say that new discoveries are either going to be made in these high metamorphic belts or undercover. And so we, as an industry, we better start getting used to them. And it's delivered Tropicana, and we believe Glenburgh is going to repeat that success. But it's about getting the right people looking at the rocks here. And this high metamorphic geology is different. So why is it different? It's been cooked, recrystallized at 700 degrees. And those skills to understand those geometries and rock types are in the hands of very few. So once again, very fortunate to have a global expert. And that's the major difference here. Already talked about myself. We talked about Ben. We're supported by a very supportive board. So let's get into the project. Okay, so we inherited the blue package from Spartan. We acted very quickly to consolidate the rest of the belt. So we acquired this ground here. So now we've got 80 kilometers of strike. So we believe we've essentially got the entire district. We're focusing on the mining lease here. The red package is our known mineralization. And the idea here is to keep exploring along strike, this 80-kilometer package, but also at depth. I'll also mention that we've also got IOCG potential. It's quite exciting. So we're on the margin of the Yilgarn Craton. We've got these deep-seated structures. So it's not unusual to potentially see something like this. So we're seeing magnetite breccia pipes reporting to the surface, and that just speaks to this new frontier nature, and we're slowly understanding it. So moving in one step further, so we've got the granted mining lease here. I can't stress enough how valuable that is. That's almost 3 to 4 years worth of permitting already behind us. Not only granted mining lease, but we've got native title, clearing permit, and water license. So essentially shovel ready. We've got two mineralization styles here. If I could split the project into east and west. So down here, we got the Icon Apollo section. This is more your big bulk disseminated, moderate grade open pit potential. And then over to the east, we've got Zone 126 high grade, so underground lenses. We had a structural breakthrough in DD. The previous explorers were drilling down to the southwest, but we understood early on that there was a overall northeast plunging architecture here. So that's what we set out to test in our maiden drill program, and the results speak for themselves. So we inherited this part of the ore body, Zone 126, and so like I said, we set out to drill on that northeast plunging fold orientation. Headline hit of 11 meters at 19.9 grams per ton, supported by 10 at 12.9, which is absolutely great. That was in this lens that we found here in pink. And most recently, we keep finding more and more of these lenses on the down plunge position. So we've just released this new lens here. So 11 meters at 5.5, supported by 20 at 2.6. And we're going to carry on exploring down here. And we've got a drill rig dedicated to this portion at the moment, and we've got a drill rig dedicated to Icon Apollo. So this is a very important slide, and I'll take my time on this, and it speaks to this high metamorphic terrain and what we're doing differently and how it's going to work here. So as I mentioned, during that high metamorphic cooking, and this is the same thing that happened at Tropicana, the rock gets recrystallized and refolded, and you can see here these sort of S-shaped patterns are exactly what we're seeing in the core. And so we've been drilling with RC down to phenomenal depths. I think that's an important point. We've actually drilled a 720 meter RC hole, and people will say, well, where's the structural data? We're putting down a televiewer. This is oil and gas technology down every single RC hole, and we're getting diamond-like digital core where we can take structural measurements. And we can see here this S-shaped pattern is what we're picking up on, and it's exactly what we're feeding back into our resource modeling. And this is exactly what was missed by the previous explorers. So when we connect the gold up in this S-shaped fashion, it actually allows those high grades to talk to each other for the first time. It's putting ounces back into the model. Not only are we doing it right, but that folding actually increases the ounces per vertical meter. So you can see here, this was a 40 meter intercept at 5 grams per ton, and it's been folded on itself 3 times there. The other kicker with this high-grade metamorphic terrain is that during that cooking process, if the gold was once hosted in pyrite, like locked up, we're actually seeing that cooking has released the gold, so it's sitting there freely. So that we're finding that the previous MET test work is showing an incredible amount of free gold, up to 88% gravity recoverable gold. And so you can bet that that's going to add to any bottom line of any future study. So incredible MET test work. Exploration upside for Zone 126 high grade. So we can see here, this is one of these northeast plunging folds. So if you can imagine, this is going into the page, and this is a deeper portion, and this is closer to the surface. So Zone 126 we found here. We're starting to see that it's the intersection of these cross-cutting secondary shears that cross-cut and interact with this primary architecture, and that's what's creating the ore body. And we can see the next one here, here, and here, and that's where our drill rig is operating at the moment, testing this position, and this is exactly where we found that third lens. So we're fairly confident that we'll keep finding these high-grade lenses. Now, this is an interesting one. We only released this on Monday. I'm actually still just getting to the grips with the sheer size of this. I actually remember ringing Ben, and I told him that we've just drilled a 200, 300 meter wide intercept when we've ended in mineralization. And I think he near fell off his chair. This is highly unusual. This is not your standard orogenic gold deposit. This is the sheer size of this. To put it in perspective, Icon alone is a decent ore body. It's 100 meters wide, averaging a gram. But we've drilled through it, and we're now starting to see this central lens emerge here. And certainly we know about Tuxedo, which is another 100-meter wide high-grade zone at 1 gram per ton. But the real kicker is that we're starting to see this 0.3 halo interconnecting it. And we've certainly got structural information to say that this is in a great big sim form. So to have 3 potential 100-meter wide ore bodies connected by a 0.3 halo, equaling a 400-meter wide mineralization center, it's easy to see why we're getting excited, and we could seriously add ounces very quickly with this sort of scale. And so this prospect's about 1 kilometer in length, so we've got a lot of drilling to do. So we're going to have a dedicated drill rig drilling in this fashion across the page, drilling all 3 of these centers out. And like I said, yeah, this is a porphyry scale footprint, and really quite excited to see what it delivers. Mount Edgerton, we don't have too much time to talk about it, but we actually believe this project is going to excite a lot of people. We've got a granted mining lease in this location here. You can have a look at some of the absolutely phenomenal high-grade hits. So this is just up the road from Fortnum Starlight. It's your typical Meekatharra, high-grade vein. We do have plans to come and drill here later on. So this is very similar to what Gorilla Gold's done, drilling under old mine workings, and that's exactly what we'll be doing here. We also have 1 million ounces at 6 grams per ton in Quebec, Canada. It's still on our books, and I stated publicly we'll be looking at the scoping studies there, so look out for that. So, wrapping this up, I've got 3 minutes left. I could read these out again, but we've already been through this, and I think I'd rather just leave you with a message. So essentially every meter that we drill here, we're getting more and more confident that we're onto something big. And like I said, what we're seeing here is not normal. We don't think this is a standard orogenic gold system. We're still working it out. And so drilling out that 400-meter wide mineralized center at Icon Apollo has the potential to rapidly add ounces. And you combine that with the high-grade centers at Zone 126, and then you also combine that with our proprietary knowledge of how to explore these high metamorphic terrains. And we've got the whole district as well, the 80 kilometers worth of strike. We're only putting drill holes in 2 targets now on the mining lease. And so, like I said, we've got a drill rig at Zone 126 and a drill rig at Icon. And if I'm going to make a prediction, in 12 months' time, this is not going to look like this. And it's going to look very, very different. And if you missed out on Hemi, and if you missed out on Gruyere, I truly believe this will be the next multi-million ounce gold district. And look, we're only just getting started. So thanks for listening, have a read, and thanks again. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mark.